Hi guys, Michael here from Xcub 60cc build. This is a continuation video for part 6, which is the installation for the hinges for the elevators and the rudder. So all I've done so far is I've glued into place the hinges only on one side. So I've glued them into the actual horizontal stabilizer or stabilizers, and also the vertical stabilizer. So the only thing that's glued right now is actually this part here. This part here, which goes onto the actual surface, the control surface, is it's not glued in yet. And I'll explain to you why and why that's important. The reason being is once you've glued this into place, you want the glue to dry first before you actually glue in the actual flying surface. And the reason for that is if you need to make adjustments, as you can see here, if that's not lined up and you've glued both places in, both halves in place, you won't be able to adjust that. And the other thing is, if you glued that and that at the same time, you could get movement as you let the surface down. I mean, even if you sticker taped it probably, you can still get a little bit of movement inside. So it's better to actually glue one half in first. Once that's done, I'll then pull out the elevator once again, rudder, and the other half of the elevator. Then I'll put glue in the actual holes of the control surface. So what that does then is it gives you a perfect gap. At the moment it's not perfect, as you can see there's still a little bit of room to move. Around about 2 or 3 millimeters is what I'll need to adjust to actually get that level. And the other thing is as well on the rudder half, as you can see here, where that's not quite level. I mean, there are different ways of doing it. Some people do it differently. This is the way I've always done it. It's always worked for me. It's never let me down. The other thing is, if you create a mess on the sides, which that was a mistake I made yesterday. I think I drew the lines before I cut the film, but because I actually re-ironed down the film before I installed it into place, what it did was actually shrink the film a little bit. So that's why it's got the 3mm discrepancy, and you can see the wood instead of film all the way in. So that's a mistake that I've done. Obviously for future builds, I'll now know not to do that. Instead of ironing it before installation, probably iron it after, so that it doesn't shrink. But that's an easy enough fix. As I said on the previous video, you can actually buy covering material and just create or cut out a piece where it'll cover this part and underneath, if you're really that fussy about the aesthetics, which I am. So what I'll do is I'll cover it from there downwards to there. I'll also cover the hinge gaps here with clear cover or grey cover, depending on which one I get. But what that does is it actually does level out the airflow as well. So when the wings and surfaces are level, you're not going to get any air resistance from that gap, because what the air will do is go over the surface and then go over that dip and then back down. So it creates a resistance, meaning you're going to lose a little bit of speed. I mean, it's not too much, but still it does hinder performance. And obviously being a Cub, it's a slow aircraft to begin with, but you do want it to have the best possible performance you can get out of the plane. So aesthetically, cosmetically, I can cover these up, which you can see it if you put your eyes right on it, but from afar, obviously, you won't be able to notice it. Even if I left it like that, you still wouldn't be able to notice it anyway, but that's not how I leave things. So the next step for me would be to glue these halves into place. Once that's done, all my surfaces are all installed. All I'll be doing then, and what I'll be doing next, would be installing the rods that actually come down from underneath the aircraft and then go into place there. And what they do is they both push and pull. So when they push, the elevator half goes up. When they pull down, obviously the elevator goes down. The rudder is not a rod system. It is what they call in aircraft terminology, whether it's real or model, it's called a rudder pull. So what it is two cables that you'll have two cables that basically wrap around the servo, and one pulls, the other one pulls as well. So as you use your rudder to go left or right, one wire will pull, the other wire will push down, or not push down, sorry, one wire will pull, the other one will be free. But what it'll do is move the surface. So when that part that's pulling, it will then deflect the rudder to the right, and then when the left side of the pull system pulls to the left, the rudder will pull to the left. So I've always had Cubs mostly, but some of the planes that I've built without pull use rods, and they work as good. I mean, the rod systems are a little bit more direct because you don't get any slack from wires, but the rudder pull system on the Super Cub hasn't ever let me down anyway. So you just have to make sure they're taut, not taut that they can't move, obviously, but you have to have as much, you have to have a lot of tautness in the wire to make sure it works properly, and then the slack end, obviously not too much slack as well. So on the next video, I'll be showing you the surfaces working, as I'll be connecting up the rods after these have been completed. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Once again, thank you so much for watching.